Hey, what's up, y'all? Tommy B here from This Is the G Podcast. Castropolis.net needs your help to reach 2025. Donate $25. That's $25 for 2025. Get it? Every penny counts. Head over to Castropolis.net to donate. Thanks for listening, and thanks for your support.
This is the G Podcast with your host, Tommy B.
Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome to episode 245 of This Is the G Podcast. What's up, y'all? What's up? I'm still doing the applause, man. I don't care. As a matter of fact, keep it moving. Each week we do news, politics, pop culture, that piping hot tea. Tanya B is out this week. I's out this week, taking a break. The brain is here. What's up, Talib?
What's going on? What's happening?
And in for the two is Hitman Howie. Hitman, how you doing, bro?
Peace, brother. Thanks for the invitation.
Had a chance to spend some time homecoming last weekend with Howie, man. We had, hey, I don't want to call it what it was, but was it the slave quarters? We'll just call it the separate building.
There you go. Hey,
the servants' quarter. But you know what? I'm going to say this, man. First of all, shout out to Troy University, man. Shout out to, our Smurf brothers. You know, we're not officially, but we've known each other for so long, man. Everybody, we're connected. And we rented this house to leave, or like an Airbnb, man. Mm-hmm. And I could swear this thing was, I'm going to say it. It was a former mortuary. But let me say this. It was great.
It was great.
It was perfect. And the reason you could tell it was a former mortuary, can't say the word, is because they have the hearse pull up on the side,
circular drive, right?
And the big parking lot in the back,
yeah,
and the shining ceilings on the inside. It was, it was fun though, man. I had a blast. I got there, I got there late. Everybody else got there a little early, like Thursday, Friday. I got there for the game, and then hung out Saturday night, and. But I'm telling you, man, great time to all the bros, all the fellas, man. Always, man. It's just refreshing. And then we had to come back to this shit. God damn.
Right after.
Not even a week. But anyway, it's the God damn it. It's the post-mortem episode. I'm still reeling because the last couple of days have been a blur.
Right.
Election 2024. I've got a lot to say. I know Talib got a lot to say. And I know Howie has a lot to say as well. So let's go ahead and get into it. And our good friend Syracuse Mike did a hell of a job framing everything and just kind of rolling out the news. His coverage was impeccable as always. So let's go ahead and hit a few clips to because this is our week in review, as we always do. But let's go ahead and do this.
All of the major news outlets are projecting that Donald Trump has won the presidential race and will be returning to the White House. The former president addressed supporters early this morning.
It's a political victory that our country has never seen before, nothing like this. I want to thank the American people for the extraordinary honor of being elected your 47th president and your...
Mr. Trump was in Florida. He won the battleground states of Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, North Carolina, and Georgia, all before sunrise Wednesday. Vice President Kamala Harris had to win Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan to pull off a victory. The so-called blue wall did not hold up.
All right, first of all, he's not going to get Mr. out of me. I give Syracuse Mike props for journalistic integrity, but that's the last time you won't get it from me. Okay. And hopefully that's the last time his voice will be on the podcast, but I'm going to do it because, of course, of the circumstances. All right, here's the next one.
Wednesday afternoon, Vice President Kamala Harris spoke to her supporters after losing the presidential election to former President Donald Trump. At her alma mater, Howard University, she said,
"My heart is full today, full of gratitude for the trust you have placed in me, full of love for our country, and full of resolve."
Harris called the president-elect earlier in the day to congratulate him. An aide says she discussed the importance of a peaceful transfer of power and being a president for all Americans. President Biden also made a call to the next president to congratulate him on his victory. He invited Mr. Trump to meet him soon at the White House, a long-standing tradition following an election. Democrats are trying to show the world this is how a peaceful transfer of power should look.
All right, let's go ahead and do this.
So how did Donald Trump win the election? There were shifts that took place all around the country. AURN's Jamie Jackson said one key to his victory was more support from black and Hispanic men, according to exit polls.
For example, Fox News' exit polling data shows that Trump captured 24% of black male voters, while Harris received 74%. The former president even made inroads when it comes to Latino men, securing 46% compared to Harris's 51%. Latino women voted 38% for Trump versus 60% for Harris. When it comes to black women, 9% supported Trump. Now, NBC News' exit polls show an even more dramatic picture of Trump's support when it comes to Latino men, showing that he won a majority of Latino men at 54%.
Well,
News, I'm Jamie Jackson.
All right, we're going to get into it, but I do want to go ahead and play this next clip. Here we go.
President Biden addressed the nation Thursday, promising a smooth transfer of power to the Donald Trump administration. He also repeated the familiar line that you can't love your country only when you win. He added,
"You can't love your neighbor only when you agree." Something I hope we can do, no matter who you voted for, is see each other not as adversaries, but as fellow Americans.
He asked Americans to bring down the temperature of partisan divisions and have faith in our country's democratic systems despite the loss by his VP, Kamala Harris.
She gave her whole heart and effort, and she and her entire team should be proud of the campaign they ran.
The president said it's time to come together. Mr. Biden delivered his remarks to a crowd of senior administration officials and family members.
All right, y'all. Hey, while it's fresh, you've heard the clips. I'm going to go to Talib. And Talib, let's go ahead. I'm going to let you kick it off, man. What you got?
It's a little disappointing. It's disappointing to see that there are people who are uninformed about the process. I know that some of my students were saying that they voted for Trump, but they didn't realize that you could write your own name in. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. People were, I think.
Wait a minute. Why would that even be?
Because they didn't want to vote for Kamala, and they really didn't want to vote for Trump. That's what one guy said. He didn't really want to vote for Trump, but he didn't want to vote for Kamala.
But let me ask you this: if you want to vote, you got down ballot opportunities and choices. You know what I mean? It wasn't just that; those weren't the only two names on the ballot.
Again, and that's what I'm saying. Uninformed about the process. You know what I mean? Like you kind of threw away your vote. I mean, I know that there were local elections, stuff like that. It was crazy to hear people's logic and why they made the moves that they did. Trump, I wasn't, that I wasn't very gung-ho about Kamala in the first place, but I did vote for her, because I figured that voting for Kamala would give me the best chance at the future. Future with Trump is uncertain. Them showing what a peaceful transfer of power should look like, I mean, that's a farce. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, this is, I don't even really want to go into what I felt went wrong with
No,
the
you know what?
campaign.
You know what? Let me tell you. Get into it, because I am.
Okay, but I mean, it's
You might as well. You might as well just open up the can, man.
Okay, well, number one, the message that she started with, that she came out of the gate with, was a little bit more on the progressive side. And that motivated people. And the fact that she went neocon, CEO after receiving the groundswell of interest and support and, from her constituents, just kind of left me like, what the hell is happening here? You know what I mean? Like, you stumping with Liz Cheney? And that's supposed to make sense? You know what I mean? Like, no, you got Tim Walz. Tim Walz, again, I liked Tim Walz as a potential candidate, because of the things that he's been able to do in Missouri. and the fact that he is a regular guy. But you get the most regular guy running with you, and then you just go straight corporation. You know, the fact that Joe Biden couldn't let go, and Kamala still had to take this kind of secondary role. You know what I mean? I don't understand why people look at a vice president and say, well, what did you do? What could she do? She's a vice president. She could follow her boss. You know, like, you don't go against your boss at work. So what makes you think that she will go against her boss in the politics? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'll say this to you, Talib. I don't know if that's somebody's. Is that me?
No, that's an issue I'm having with my computer. My apologies.
Okay, gotcha. You know, Talib, I'm gonna let you. I definitely want you to speak to that, man, because here's the thing. So just to sum up a few of what you said, I'm gonna go to Howie and I'll come back to you. Mm-hmm. You felt she went too center.
Yeah.
She became too moderate.
Yes.
You know, as the campaign went on.
Yeah.
And you're a progressive, and you know, you felt that starting off progressive, it was kind of like the Trojan horse.
Right. You know, and I'm not going to say that I'm progressive. I think that I definitely have a lot of progressive viewpoints. Yeah. Because I feel like the government is a social construct.
Yeah.
You know, so there has to be a social element to it. Yes, the government should be paying more attention to the way that it does business, because the government does business with other entities. You know what I mean? There is business going on within the government. So so we should be treating it like it's a government. But it's not just a pure capitalist society that we live in. So it shouldn't be a pure socialist type of society that we live in. You know, it has to be a combination of the both, because it's about how we govern ourselves. It's supposed to be about how we govern ourselves. And that's just not what's happening. You know, people are getting these positions and they're thinking for themselves and not for their constituents. I mean, there's a lot of things that were exposed in this election, you know, and, you know, the Electoral College, at this point, it's like, for what? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing is, and, you know, call it what you want, he won the popular vote, too.
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely. I'm saying the Electoral College as a whole.
To some extent, yeah.
Yeah, we really need to look at this process.
I got you.
But yeah, I mean, the fact that he won both the Electoral College and the popular vote shows that people will buy into whatever you're selling, as long as it's being sold by the right person. And he was the right person to sell what he was selling, and he got it. You know, I said it before, he's P.T. Barnum. He is a total showman. You know what I mean? And he's going to give you what it is that you feel like you need in order to support what I'm doing. But they're voting against their own self-interests. Unless you just, you know, lily white and you just don't want this country to, you know, be any more brown than it already is.
You know what? I want to play a clip before I go to you, Howie. Eddie, I call him Eddie G. MSNBC. He is he's at Princeton. He's from Princeton, professor from Princeton. He's typically on most of the panels. And I'm going to go ahead and play this.
There's this sense, right, that whiteness is under threat, the demographic shifts, the country isn't what, all of these racially ambiguous children on Cheerios commercials are confusing the hell out of me.
A lot of people voted because their life's too damn expensive. And it was here, and
they voted for, you're telling me, Stephanie, that all of these people who believe that their lives are, that bread is too high and eggs are too high, that they voted for a convicted fella, a guy who said we can grab the pea.
I think that a lot
they voted for this guy.
I'm not defending it, but I think there are tons of people that don't pay attention to, and I'm not defending it, don't pay attention to politics at all. But while we live in the most prosperous country in the world, people are saying life's not fair, I'm not doing well, my son's still living in the basement, I can't seem to get a job, I don't like the status quo, I'm voting for something else, and he was the person.
I love you to life,
I love you,
but I do not believe that. I cannot believe that. And the reason I think you believe it is because you don't want to believe that that's what's really motivating them. It's always the case. People don't want to believe what the country actually is, because if they believe it, they're going to have to confront what's in them. I don't believe that. They voted for a crook, a person who they know is stealing from, just doing everything to undermine the so-called country that they love. And then they're telling us the BS that it's economics. We know that's not true.
Go to you, Howie. I had to play that because there were some things that were baked into what you said, Talib. I don't think that completely addresses everything you said, but some of it, and I'm gonna go to you, Howie.
Oh yeah. Well, just to dovetail on that, I think that's 100% right. I don't think people are saying are voting because eggs are higher or gas is higher, because the reality is that the president himself has very little to do with that. His policies sometime. And if you do want to hang on to the fact that he has something to do with it, economics is always a trailing indicator. So just real quick at Economics 101, when Trump came in, everything seems great. That was based on policy that was put in 8 years prior to him. So he gets the win for 2 years, and then when things start to dive down or go negative, he loses. So now it looks like Biden hadn't done a good job. Well, he's coming off 4 years of poor economic policy. History tells us that following every single Republican president, there's been a recession or close to a recession in our country. Why? Because they cut taxes and they spend. Your household cannot run on less money and more spending, and nor can the country. We've signed the bill to say, hey, we can run in a negative, but your household can't. And the reality is, every single president, Republican president, our country follows that with a recession or near recession. So that's
look at Bush. I mean, if you want him, if you're not that old,
right?
Let's just go back to W.
Yes, that's exactly right. Got the economy running so red hot. What I call, when my brother and I talk about it, he got it running so white hot that when he fell off, and President Obama came in, man, it took four years to kind of just level off, and then 4 years to start the upswing. But that's consistent. And then, we talked about the popular vote. 3.9 million people voted for the Trump over Harris in the popular vote. That is my concern. And when you start to dive down into the numbers, you're talking about Latino men who I grew up with all my life, but I know they have a less than, I don't know, how do I put it? They don't care for women that much, especially women in leadership. I'm down with
misogyny leaning.
Misogyny leaning. That's okay. That's the word I'm looking for. And I'm down with Latino.
Not straight up, but leaning. Yeah.
Overall. Not individually, but as an overall. And then young men who I have one in my house that voted this year, and I'm not sure. I know what I asked him to vote for. I'm not sure what he voted for. But young men, both African American and Latinos, lean more to Trump. And that was a concern for me also. I'm trying to understand, what do they see in their limited life that would lean them that way? Now, men 45 and older was leaning toward Harris, which is understandable because we've seen some things in life. We understand what's going on in life. So those are my concerns when it comes to this election. One other thing, real quick, Jamie Harrison, who was the leader of the Democratic Party, he's stepping down or resigning. My concern with him,
go ahead.
Thank God. My concern with him is he hung on to Biden too long. Yeah. Maybe not him specifically, but also maybe the Democrats collectively. Remember Biden, and we shared a clip. Biden talked about being a transitional president. Right. 4 years, he get out. He should have done that from the very beginning. Maybe at that point, I'm not saying Kamala was the wrong person, but we could have elected a person we thought could have ran in that position in a stronger light. So those are my concerns.
Let me give Talib his due. And Talib was very adamant about the process and having a democratic process before choosing a leader. And you recall on the podcast, Talib, you said, hey, we need to have a real convention. Right. We need this. We can't just, pick a leader and push him through and expect, the results we want.
Right.
you know, and I was hearing your voice from that podcast as the results were coming in.
Mm-hmm.
But let me say, I agree with you, man, and I don't want to disparage, because I never like to throw a blanket or a wide net over people.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of people are just patriarchal. They
Right.
grow up in the patriarchy.
Exactly.
Period. And so when it comes down to something different, which is a female candidate, they just can't see it.
Right.
Regardless.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not, that's unscientific, but I do think that has something to do with it when you look at it. It's a very patriarchal
Mm-hmm.
society,
Mm-hmm.
when you look at, that target. I'm going to say this, man. Do you have anything else?
No, I'm good. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll just say, and I agree to some extent with, because CNN did some exit polling, and I agree with most of what they said.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of what Eddie said, I do agree with part of it. And a lot of it is just misinformation that comes from listening to the same Fox News all the time.
Right.
Because somebody even mentioned the fact that we're cocooned, in a lot of cases. A lot of these folks never listen to MSNBC. They never listen to CNN. They don't listen to ABC, NBC. They listen to Joe Rogan. They listen to, Tucker Carlson. They listen to, of course, Fox News.
Mm-hmm.
They listen to Newsmax.
Mm-hmm.
They get everything from that. Just like I don't listen to any of that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've spent maybe a commercial
Right.
with Fox News, because I just can't deal with it. Right. I do, MSNBC, but I know how to filter. I can filter the BS. Same thing with CNN.
Mm-hmm.
I have a self-filter, and I can understand. A lot of folks don't want to use their filter.
Right.
They want to give it to them. They want to spoof it. And you know what? Fox is there to feed it to them. Newsmax is there to feed it to them. All those conservatives. So let me tell you, a lot of what they heard pointed to economy is
right.
bad. Biden's bad. All the things that you said, Howie, I agree 100%. They never heard that.
Right. Right.
They never heard that. So with CNN, they did the exit polling. Basically, what people were saying was a sour economy doomed Harris, and she did not do a good job distancing herself from Biden.
Right.
The death blow was the appearance on The View, where they asked her what would she do differently, and she said probably nothing. Game over. It was like that became. Unfortunately, it became a damn Republican commercial.
Exactly.
The PACs used it. She would not distance herself from Biden. And that comes in also to what you were saying, Talib. We need a candidate to say, hey, yeah, this shit was bad. Vote for me.
Right.
not, believe me and, forget what you saw, forget what you felt. Don't worry about that.
Right.
Believe me.
Right.
People are, they see through that.
Yeah.
The other thing is Harris and her team really failed to drive an uptick among women. Again, we did the podcast where I said, oh, don't y'all let us down. I'm not going to go specifically into what I said because I'm not going to say it again. But the women, there were certain women who failed. Again, not in terms of, even though you might have gotten the majority, you didn't get enough of it. There wasn't enough of an uptick considering the amount of time you spent on reproductive rights.
Right.
If you look at, would you not say the majority of the commercials, the majority of the messaging was about reproductive rights?
Yeah.
They pushed abortion rights hard.
Yes.
And women lean less toward Harris than they did toward Clinton in 2016.
Right.
And even toward Biden.
Mm-hmm.
That's from CNN. That's the exit poll.
Yeah.
Latino men gravitated toward Trump.
Right.
We know that. We saw it. What you also have to look at, not just the numbers, but the percentages. Latino men went from plus 31 Clinton, plus 23 Biden,
Right.
to plus 12 for Trump. Now, let me go back and say this. It was plus 31 for Clinton.
Hillary Clinton.
Yes, Hillary Clinton.
Right.
Plus 23 for Biden. So that's the Democrat blue starting to plus 12 for Trump.
Right.
Wow.
So not only
that's significant.
Yeah, that's
24 point swing.
Yes.
Yep.
So, Trump crushed his mail numbers.
Yes.
My son and I mean, millennial, we have a theory on this. I mean, it's totally unscientific, but coming in bigger than both, the first run in 2016, he came in bigger than he did in 20 with men. And let me say, why I think, and I want y'all to think about this. Hulk Hogan, Dana White, all these cats, especially Hulk Hogan, and we were just talking about it. He said, this is the WWE Commando Schwarzenegger generation. Do you understand what I'm saying? When you look at, especially Gen X, what did they do? What did they watch?
Yeah.
These are like the young Gen X soldiers watching Van Damme, Rambo, so he fit into that. Plus, keep in mind, Trump was a big figure in wrestling. He even showed up and fought a few
He was in
bouts.
WrestleMania. He was in a couple
So
of
people would
WrestleManias.
ask, why is he using Hulk Hogan going after those men? And he crushed it. He crushed that number. And it goes further into Rogan, and what you're seeing. The outcome, Trump won, 295 in the Electoral College. Harris winds up with, 226 as of this taping. Nevada and Arizona will put Trump probably at 312. When it completely comes in, because we're not there yet. And I'm sorry, I got to throw some more salt. Trump is going to win the popular vote, 73 million to 68. Okay, and the last Republican to win that big was George Bush over George Kerry. Last time a Republican won a big popular vote number before that was his father, H.W. Bush, back in 1988. And the fact that, she lost all 7 of the swing states, lost ground in the margin of victory, even in the blue states.
Yeah.
There was an erosion. So underperformed in New York, only won by 11 in New York. Biden beat Trump by 23. So, I'm just going to say, I think the party is due major leadership upheaval.
Well,
and that even starting, you're starting with, what's his name? You mentioned it.
Jamie Harris.
Howie.
Yeah, Jamie Harris.
Yeah. Here's the thing. You can't keep leading with people who haven't won anything.
Right.
Harrison's never won. He lost to Lindsey Graham.
Right.
The only election he actually won, the only election he actually participated in, he lost big to Lindsey Graham.
Right.
Even with the amount of money you put behind him. He's a great fundraiser. And we saw that. They raised $1 billion, but he could fundraise his ass off. But when you look at, you're looking at leadership without the resume. And that's a big problem, even in Georgia. I'm going to get to that in a few. Talib, you want to jump back in? You had something else?
Well, a couple things. I think like you were saying, like I don't really talk to younger people outside of class because I don't know too many of them these days. You know what I mean?
Well, you got kids.
But
kids.
Right, outside of the kids and their friends.
Yeah.
So the one thing, the what I found to be the crux for the students seemed to be that there were things that affected them immediately.
Yeah, they want immediate gratification. Go ahead.
Listen, guys, gentrification in the West End, and Oakland City started with Bill Clinton and the empowerment zones. I was like, that's 30 years ago. I said, so the thing is that, abortion might not affect you at this particular moment until you start having, hundreds of women dying because they can't get the kind of care that they need.
Yeah.
And what happens when it's your granddaughter?
Yeah.
Or your daughter-in-law, and y'all are expecting the first child. I was like, I'm not trying to make the case for abortion because I personally don't believe in abortion. The 2 times that I've been involved in a pregnancy have resulted in my 2 sons. You know what I mean? So I'm not out here trying to just tell a woman, no, I'm not in favor of it. we're just going to have to tough it out. But when we start talking about medical procedures not being able to be done because of something, because of this law, then we have to re-examine the law.
Right.
The thing is that, it's like I was telling another thing that I was saying was that, the reason I would not have ever thrown any weight behind Trump for this particular election was because of all the things that have been kind of put into place the last time he was there. The fact that the Supreme Court is basically, said that there's no accountability.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't think Kamala Harris would have tested boundaries of that. I don't think she would have been like, hey, I could get away, I know I could pretty much get away with anything, but let me see if I did this.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Trump will definitely do that because Trump's policy comes from the fact that he had a fart. It's like, you know what? Yeah, do away with the Constitution. And then he's trying to see who responds and what the temperature is from this crazy idea that he had.
Or the idea about not voting, not ever having to vote again.
Right. I mean, listen, I'm not trying to say we shouldn't take him seriously. We should take him extremely serious because of where he is right now and the type of person that he is. He's not a mobster, but he sure wants to be. He's not a strong man, but he's going to try and make this last 4 years of his, he's going to try and be the strong man. Whether he succeeds in becoming a dictator or not, really depends on how, Americans really look at things. But he's definitely trying to puff his chest out right now. You know what I mean? I think it's going to be a very interesting time. But I was saying the kids didn't realize that, I was like, yo, man, the reason why you're hurting right now with this inflation is because we're under Trump's plan right now, and it was set to expire. That means that we weren't going to be hurting any. We had the opportunity to not hurt anymore. But voting for Trump means not only do his tax plan go, he saves his tax plan, he renews it, but he makes the tax cuts permanent.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, yo, it's going to be hard as hell to come back from a permanent tax cut.
Because now he's going in basically with the Senate and the House.
Right.
And the
I mean, the House is not permanent, but it's projected
and
to
the Supreme Court.
Yeah, and the Supreme Court.
Like
hey,
said,
I'm going to say this, and I'm going to throw it back to Howie in a minute. Talib, we got plenty of time to cover. But I'm going to say this, man, and I want to know if you guys agree with me on this. You don't have to. I think it really came down to trust. I think one of the big issues that Kamala was unable to do, she was unable to gain the trust of the opposition, And I think she felt that bringing in Liz Cheney and the list of other Republicans would shore that up, and it didn't work. And I guess according to Hearing Talib, it backfired.
Well, help me understand the trust.
Help
me understand the trust come in when it comes to, you mean independence or
no? I don't think when you look at just overall the underperformance, okay, and when you look at the way Trump was able to shore up and grow his base, I think it came down to trust. I think they were more willing to trust Biden last because of the way he looked. He's a white male,
right?
Versus, a mixed race female who basically they had already had a full attack on, who couldn't commit that things were wrong, that things weren't going well. Who couldn't say, hey, things are bad under this guy. My new leadership will change it. She couldn't say that. So basically they said, how can I trust someone who won't admit that things are bad?
Right.
And I think it did. I think ultimately, if people don't trust you, they're not going to vote for you.
And that was a funny thing too, man. Look
What's
at
that?
How many people voted.
And I even think on the blue side, I think there's still people who don't trust her.
Yeah, definitely.
Look at, and I'm calling you out, Talib, but you know, I mean, when we were doing the podcast, I mean, you never felt easy about the whole campaign.
Right, because I felt like Biden had been appointed as opposed to nominated. And because of that, the way that Kamala was presented was another appointment. And people don't want to see appointment. You know, they want to feel like they're a part of the process. They want that whole get to know you. This is what attracts us to these types of people. And that's what Trump, Trump already had trust coming into it from his base. His base trusted him explicitly.
I mean, they trust him to cult level.
Right. Yeah. Very much so. Very much so.
And the Dems have no one who has that type of trust.
Right.
He has that type of trust and beyond. It's like unbelievable trust.
Yeah. The last
we look
one
at
was
this
Bernie.
every day. We joke about it. But you think about the trust that his people have in him, and we look at that and say, that shit's crazy.
Right.
That's a cult.
Yeah.
You know, she's never gained that. And I'm going to say this, man, and I'll throw it back to you guys to, we got a few minutes. We got time to wrap this and go as deep as we need to go. I think the Dems do have to make the main thing the main thing. And honestly, even though I do believe reproductive rights is a big part of this, I do believe it was about the economy. I mean, it was absolutely, positively, 100% the economy. Whatever you say, it's easy to. The other thing is, if you're progressive, if you're a Democrat, it's very easy to talk climate change and a lot of those types of policies when you in a blue bubble.
Right.
But as soon as you go to Warner Robins, Georgia, you leave Atlanta and drive down, or you drive up to Dalton, Georgia, or Rome, Georgia. Nobody wants to hear that, and I know people get pissed off at me and say, that's so huge, that's our future. No, they don't care. We've not done enough to make them care. Right. They don't believe it. So I do believe, it's easy when a lot of these people at the top of the Democratic Party, they're in blue. Look at Nikema Williams. She's in the heart of Atlanta. She's at the center. And you know what? They're asking her to step down too.
Oh,
they
really?
want her to go. Oh, yes.
Wow. That's interesting.
There's a list of folks. Look, Georgia, man, let me tell you, I'm going to say this. Georgia's fucked up. It really is. First of all, Kamala lost it. Second of all, you're running against Marjorie Taylor Greene in a 70% white district, congressional district, a black guy who nobody knows. You did it with Marcus Flowers. You put a ton of money into Marcus Flowers, historic money. He lost by 30%. Now you put another guy. Nobody even. I don't even know his name.
Yeah, I don't know his name either.
Okay. The other thing is, you even look at
Texas.
God, it was one of the.
Texas.
Well, yeah. I mean, you look at that situation. There are just so many examples, but I want to stay in Georgia because I live here.
Gotcha.
And you look at the choice of candidates to run against these traditionally red candidates in these red areas. And look, here's what's happening. We are heading toward, in the state of Georgia, a gubernatorial race very soon.
Right.
And the gubernatorial race is going to include, God, what's his name? Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones. He's worse. He's going to make Kemp look liberal. Okay. That's all I got to say. So my point is, she needs to go. Because you can't, first of all, she's in Congress.
Right.
She's not even dedicated to running the party. She's splitting her time between being a congressman, and running a state that's supposedly, quote unquote, a swing state.
Right.
But all these people, let me tell you, all the leadership, Democratic leadership, wants to stay in the bubbles. They want to stay in Atlanta. They want to stay in wherever the blue. That's where they want to, But you gotta figure out how to convert these red areas. You just can't let them go.
Yeah. I think it's interesting from the Democratic headquarters, from the Jamie Harrison position, that they'll come up with a better way to win state elections, because that's where we draw the lines. Every 10 years,
you
we
got
draw
to
the
have
lines.
look. You got to have better candidates, Howard.
Yeah.
You got to have better. I mean, I'm just gonna call it what it fucking is.
I know.
The Republic. Excuse my language, Pastor.
I got you.
But I got to say this. Trump is winning because they figured it out that people are tired of politicians. They have figured out that people hate politicians. It even shows in the surveys that Congress is beneath the slug.
Mm-hmm.
When, you know, what's the worst thing on earth? It used to be a lawyer. Now it's a politician.
Right.
So people don't want politicians anymore. That's why Trump, I mean, see, here's the thing. Everybody says, well, that's a fucked up idea. You really should. We need to rethink who we run for president. We're looking at, okay, well, and then now they're putting this list together for 2028, and you know, we've got the governor of Maryland, and you know, we're looking at, no, you need to look at somebody who can win.
Right.
And I'm just doing this, you know, I'm doing this from a podcast standpoint. I'm not gonna, I mean, not as a who's loyal to the party. I'm just, you know, you got to get to a point where you got to say, okay, if Mark Cuban is polling 30-40% ahead of, you know what I'm saying, then maybe we should do something. Yeah. Then maybe we should rethink what we're doing. We don't want to put anybody in there who's going to take us off a cliff.
Right.
But maybe we need to rethink who we, you know, using a lot of these people who just don't have the intestinal fortitude to fight. Yeah. You can't keep bringing a poodle to a pit bull fight.
Right.
I mean, y'all want to bring a poodle?
No.
Right. I got it.
It's hard to watch because it was hard to watch Tuesday night. Yeah. You know when I stopped watching? When Kornacki at the board, you know, on MSNBC, when he started comparing 2024 to 2020, 2016, and the underperformance numbers. Yeah. And this was early. Yeah. He said, oh, well, we're underperforming. And it was consistent. Yeah. And he said, we're seeing a pattern of underperformance. I said, it's over.
Yeah. 2 minutes, Tom. I think the Democrats,
I got you.
I think Democrats have to educate people more. You think about the people who are voting for Trump. When you talk about demographics, the large populations of high schoolers or less, rural, and of course white. But these are people who listen to the stations you mentioned. The Democrats don't do anything to educate that group of people.
Because you know why, Howard? And I'm gonna let you go. They don't trust them. There's no trust. I mean, let's face it.
You mean the rural people don't trust the Democrats, or the Democrats don't trust them?
Right. They do not trust the messaging. They don't trust the messenger. You got to find someone that they can trust, who they can trust, to speak to them. And we don't have the people. We keep sending the people to them who cannot earn their trust.
Yeah, I understand that part. I'm not talking about
you name somebody who can go into these. I mean, look, we all grew up.
Right.
I mean, look, I've worked in it.
Yes.
I grew up in Atlanta, but I've worked in rural areas. Okay, I've worked around those communities. Predominantly white communities, predominantly black, mixed. They don't trust you. It's just like, you know, if you've ever lived in a small town, if you don't garner a trust, you will always be an outsider.
Right. Yeah. Right.
And they will treat you as such. That's what Dion is dealing with in Colorado.
Well, I think
that's why he was getting, now he's winning again.
Right.
But that's why he was getting so much pushback at the beginning of the season, because he was not becoming a Coloradan. Whatever you.
Well, I think that echoes President Carter's win back in the 70s. You know, I think they trusted him.
Well, the 70s.
Well, but I think the trust
I agree. It was a different time.
Yeah, but I think the trust.
Kamala Harris couldn't never run.
Right.
Back in the 70s.
Right. Well, that's true. Well, I think the Dems need.
Nor could Obama.
Yeah, nor could Obama. I think the Dems need someone who's more, from a leadership perspective, younger and more aggressive. They need to release some of these cultural.
Again, young and aggressive are traits.
Right.
It's about who they see. I'm sorry. Let's call it what it is. You've got to find a Trojan horse.
Right.
See, that's what I thought that Kamala could be somewhat of a Trojan horse but I think well, let me just, like I said,
I'm listening.
Because they were, with her coming in, we really wouldn't know what she stood for or what she thought until her boss was out of the way. Like, had they made Joe Biden not only step down from the running for president, step down from the election, but if they had said, okay, because of this mental decline, we're going to, enact the 25th Amendment,
Yes.
Yeah.
then we've seen who Kamala Harris really was, because she's no longer beholden to the position that she held. She could have been who she was on her own too. Yeah. What I mean by having her as a Trojan horse is that, I felt like, okay, we're really not going to see who she is until she's, until she actually won. And then
until after inauguration.
Right, exactly. And now we can see her, break from Biden.
Yeah, Well, she should have broke earlier, I think. I think they should have broke earlier.
And that was
definitely. But she's still the vice president.
Right. Yeah. Well,
under a president who she still has to deal with on a daily basis. Like, how do you expect this woman to do? How do you expect help with this woman to do her job when she has to badmouth her boss? For people to see.
That was the challenge. I'm gonna say this real quick, and I'm gonna let you go, Howie. I'm gonna let you say this. I 100% agree that it was tough for her to do that, but on the other hand, it made it tough for her to win.
Right.
Because the only way you can win in these elections where there's, again, you're dealing with cults. You're dealing with this cult of personality. Yes. Mm-hmm. You have to get these people to trust you when you're connected to the guy who they've demonized. And look, the way that the Republican Party, like them or hate them, they have done a phenomenal job at demonizing Nancy Pelosi. They have demonized the entire Democratic foundation. If you're a Democrat and you're in leadership, you have gotten the brunt of it. Okay. Yeah. And so when it comes down to them going in to get a vote or the trust of these people, all they hear and all they see is the nicknames.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That what's his name has given them. I'm just saying, what's his name?
You don't have to explain it. Yeah, we know who you're talking about.
But I'm just here to tell you. Look, I'd like to be Obama-like. I mean, I would like to think that I can appeal to people's better angels, but I'm not that guy.
Right.
People show you who they are.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I try. I've tried it before, and I've gotten my damn hands chopped off. And when you get your ass in your head and you every extension of you chopped off, then you tend to remember, wait a minute.
Right.
This is who I'm dealing with. So I do think, there's a time to appeal to people's better angels during disasters. But when it comes to politics, you better win. Win, baby, win.
Well, they got to talk about their wins, too. I think we failed to talk about their wins.
I agree.
We being the Democrats. I think they failed to say, hey, remember, we did this. We won this. We did this. The border got trickling people crossing the border right now based on the executive order that was put in place. Failed to do. And then they failed to counter. They failed to counter what was being said as well. You saw the commercial about with what's the dude, Charlemagne the God. Oh, but I don't want my tax dollars going for transgender.
And you know what they were able to do, Howie?
Yeah.
They were able to show her in her own words.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was, I mean, I hated seeing that commercial because how do you counter that? You said it.
But the reality is that's the law. Yeah. That was the same law that was.
Yeah, it was the same law that was under President Trump. Agree. But on the other hand, where are you going to explain it? And that's where it comes down to the cocoon. Everybody's in their own bubble, their own cocoon.
Right.
Where are you going to explain it? Yeah. And the only way you can explain it You know, Jon Stewart is not the one to explain it. Anybody listening? I mean, they're not going to be listening to Bill Maher and Jon Stewart and these comedians. Look, I thought the endorsements would pay off. They didn't even listen to the endorsement. I mean, these were the reason I felt she had a really better than average chance, because I'd never seen the endorsements come in like this. I'm like, oh my God. They didn't even listen to the cult didn't even listen to the endorsers. They were like, we listen to this person's music, we watch this person on film, do this person's in our home, our household on a weekly basis. But you know what? My guy is that guy.
What happened to Claiborne's and Scott's endorsement?
Well, you know, the aging old guard Democrats, they are just invisibly kind of nestled, and they look out for themselves.
Nakima, I didn't hear anything from Nakima. She may have said something, but I didn't hear anything.
Yeah, well, you know, these people are worried about their own gig, man. Because even when we talk about when we talk about the districting, redistricting, and gerrymandering, look, they still got their gig through the gerrymandering, and it's almost like, look, we're gonna leave you alone, but everybody else is gonna take the hit. And you know what? There are a lot of old guard Democrats who got what they needed through the gerrymandering in a lot of these states. They happy to have it, and they're gonna leave it alone and say that they're gonna fight. Look, but you gotta see it for what it is.
No, I think I agree with you 100%. But my concern was, why would you step out, Claiborne, for Joe Biden, but not step out for Kamala Harris?
Well, I will say, when initially Biden was about to step down, I think he did an op-ed that said it's time. But here's the thing: timing is everything.
Right.
And quite frankly, as you put it, Talib, we did hear him say he was a transitional candidate, basically to get us through.
Right.
And now the only thing they can do is really look to 2028.
Right. Yeah. What do you think about the letter that Bernie Sanders wrote to the Democratic Party?
I think it's partly true. I think, and that's I think he speaks to those red areas, because here's the thing: there are a lot of things that happen in Georgia because of Biden, because of the jobs plans,
right,
and because of getting a lot of these EV plants and battery plants that went through Warnock and Ossoff. There are a lot of things that we got, but we didn't really do a good job taking credit for it.
Right.
But you know what? Kemp did.
Yep.
So let me ask
we got to do a better job, man. I mean, that's why I say this, and I'm gonna leave my thoughts on this note, and I'm gonna let you guys roll. We have to stop thinking traditionally and old guard, and we keep doing things the same. Well, I'm just say they keep doing things the same way. Because honestly, you're gonna have to fight fire. There comes a point when you got to fight fire with fire. That doesn't mean you go out and get 34 count indictments. And
right.
Grab them by the pee. You don't have to do that. But you got to fight fire with fire. You got to find somebody who can really fight the fight.
Right.
Quit putting again. You keep sending poodles to a pit bull fight. That's what this is.
Yeah.
You can't bring pillows to a knife fight.
Right. A gun to a knife fight.
Well, that too.
Knife to a gunfight. Knife to a gunfight. But I got you. I think.
But I'm just gonna. Y'all know how I feel. Yeah. I'm pissed off because I look at the party, and I'm like, because I see it in my own state, and I'm like, and even in Philly, there was underperformance where these people were promising turnout, and they weren't delivering the turnout. That's an organizational problem. There's so many organizational problems, and it's just pathetic. The organizational problems are just over the top.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna let you wrap. Let's wrap. We right up against the hour.
It's 1 o'clock.
See, wrap it up. Give it a minute, Howie.
No, I agree. We my concern is about the leadership for the Democratic Party. And this Jamie stepping down. They're talking about not putting a new leader in until April. I'm like, what do you mean April?
Dude, you need to be working on 2028 like yesterday.
That's what I'm talking about. And that leader needs to come in with a plan. That he needs to start kicking people out and bringing people in that have some serious wherewithal, and they can reach the people and start the culture, start to change.
Because you're up against Elon Musk with Twitter, with X. You're up against you're up against Silicon Valley.
Right.
Okay, go. Did you have something else?
No, I think when you mentioned Elon Musk, I think that was a plan. I think they were saying, hey, let's do this. Let's bring him in so we can have access to people. I think that was all a plan. I really do.
I agree. Yeah. I agree.
Do.
Let's see how far they go with him. That'll be interesting.
Yeah, I agree. But I think the Democratic Party needs to start now, and they need to be serious about it. They need to start at the local levels and work their way up. That's what the Dems did. They need to have a long range goal, not next 4 years. They need next 8, 16, 20 years. They need to be planning for that. And that's how it is. The Democrats, the Republicans, have been planning this since Reagan. So let's not get it.
Final word.
Yeah,
I agree.
Gotcha.
Final word on you, Talib. Final word.
Okay, I think it's time to say fuck the blue. Democratic Party, it's out of here. Really, it's gone. It's over. It's past its time. I think that really what needs to start to happen now is that all of the people who don't understand why the Democratic Party didn't do what they were supposed to do start really pooling the resources and putting something towards a third party. I think that we should start building on the local elections, just like you said, Howie. I think that we really need to start getting some of these candidates, whatever this new party is called, in the school board meetings and into, these little East Point governments and municipalities. Atrocious. It was truly atrocious watching it.
I'm gonna stop you there. I got the gist of it, Howard. Talib. Okay. Love your thoughts, y'all. Go to castropolis.net. Choose the people poll. Leave us a voice message. Y'all play it back. Don't forget to support the podcast. It's our 2025. You can give at castropolis.net. Again, thank you, Howie. Thank you so much. Thank you, Talib. Appreciate y'all, man.
Yes, sir.
And with that, man, you know what? Keep your head up, y'all. Stay positive. I say power to the people for a reason. It's not just, a slogan. You have the power. And I always say this, peace and power to the people. I mean that. So with that, episode 245 is in the can. Y'all have a great week. Stay positive. Don't let this bring you down. All right.
You've survived worse, y'all.
Yes, we have.
Come on,
let's the black people.
You've been listening to This is the G Podcast. And This is the G Podcast is a production of the Castropolis Podcast Network. Thanks for listening.
Hey, what's up, y'all? Tommy B here from This is the G Podcast. Castropolis.net needs your help to reach 2025. Donate $25. That's $25 for 2025. Get it? Every penny counts. Head over to castropolis.net to donate. Thanks for listening, and thanks for your support.